What if you could make one decision to unleash everything great in your life? Would you do it? Would you say yes? Aren't you tired of your relationships, your health, and so much more suffering because you lack the truth you need to change? The life you desire is within your reach. You can achieve all the success, happiness, and prosperity you deserve by simply learning the secrets that lead to real personal transformation. Change is hard, but not impossible. You just have to make one radical decision to get real. And there's no better authority on the real steps to change than David G. Evans.
Some men trust in chariots. Some men trust in horses. But we will trust in the Lord.
David G. Evans is leading the charge to bring you the power to change your life. He is committed to the mission of helping you transform and become a person of power, and it starts with his all-new system to change your situation. At the centerpiece of this life-altering collection is David Evans' groundbreaking training course. From ridiculous to radical to real, this means war. In this series, you will discover the steps to change. This series includes 2 powerful messages, each on winning the battle in your mind and cultivating a language of faith. That's 4 messages, 4 power-filled hours of material. If you want a better marriage, this series has the answers. If you want to achieve financial independence God's way, the secrets in this series will empower you to make it happen. If you want a life of power, anointing, and influence, this series will show you how to get it, and there's more. You're looking for serious, immediate results. So Bishop Evans will also include one of his best-selling messages called Weapon of Warfare. This classic teaching will build you up to start fighting in the spirit for what you deserve. This powerhouse collection, from ridiculous to radical to real, and Weapon of Warfare, will give you all the biblical strategies you need to change anything in your life. This collection will ship to you immediately with your gift today to David G. Evans Ministries. This ministry is revolutionizing the kingdom by empowering believers. Souls are being saved daily, and we need your help to grow this impact in a real way. Call now and sow your seed of just $35 for your transformation to help people around the world. Your $35 love gift goes straight to the front lines of ministry, providing help to those that need it most. Call now. Make the decision to get the power you need to change your life forever.
It's the catalyst for change you've been waiting on. New Mind, New Me, from Bishop David G. Evans.
I want to be loved. Why do I take the person that loves me and kick them to the curb? I want to be wealthy, but I spend all my money.
You were created and given a slave, a doulos, a servant called your mind. Your mind is out of order when it questions your command.
If you are ready for true transformation, Bishop David G. Evans would like to bless you with the New Mind, New Me 4-message DVD set. Order today, and you will also receive Bishop Evans' national best-selling book, Healed Without Scars, as well as the Healed Without Scars music CD.
My mind's going where I tell it to go. It'll never go back. It's my mind. It's going to do what I say.
All yours when you visit our website or call 1-800-591-8480 today. Be prepared to watch a new you emerge.
Position yourself to receive from God with Bishop David G. Evans teaching When Men Pray.
Have there been times when you have asked someone to pray for you and the prayer has not been answered? Because instead of praying for yourself, you waited until someone else that you thought had more power would pray for you. Prayer is something that you resort to immediately and not as a last resort. You need to learn how to pray preemptively. You need how to pray ahead of time. Don't always be praying in response. Pray proactively. Pray before it happens. Lord, cover my child. Lord, bless my day.
Develop your relationship with God with this dynamic teaching on CD or DVD when you write to us. Visit our website or call 1-800-591-8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480. 8480.
Well, praise the Lord, everybody. Welcome to On Point, the #1 Saturday morning Christian-based call-in talk show in America, live every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on any smart device. At David G. Evans, the #1. That's at David G. Evans 1. Any smart device around the world, you can see us and hear us live every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we discuss those things that are relevant to your life. That's politics, that's major events, both internationally, nationally, and regionally. We discuss those things around the globe that impact your life, social events, sports, anything that we think impacts your life every day of your life. We talk about on Point, but we always do it from a kingdom or biblical point of view. If that kind of discussion excites you, if that interests you, I would ask you to tag a few people, get your followers on board, send some invites out, have them join us on Point every Saturday morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We are the #1 Saturday morning Christian-based call-in talk show in America. You can call us toll-free today, 866-743-8267. That's 866-743-8267, 866-74-EVANS. Give us a call. We'd love to talk to you about those things that are relevant to your life. The Bible tells us that the sons of Issachar understood the times, but that was only half the equation, and they knew what to do. Bible also lets us know that everything that we need for understanding is in the Word of God, and we need to interpret the times we're in according to His eternal Word and have the wisdom, that proverbial wisdom, that will help us understand how to navigate the times that we dwell in. And they indeed are very challenging every day of our lives, in political arenas, social arenas, cultural arenas, you name it. There are challenges all over the place, and we really need to understand clearly how to navigate this time in our lives, and we can do that with direction from God by His Spirit through the Word of God. Of course, joining us today is Reverend Nicholas Smith. Hey, man, how you doing?
Good morning, good morning.
A lot going on this week.
Yeah.
I really don't know where to start. This shooting stuff. A couple weeks ago, we was talking about hate in church and how hate looks for an arena or a platform to express itself, and that hate doesn't begin at 5 o'clock one day and 6 o'clock you decide to do something about it. That it is something that is gestated over a period of time, something that individuals have fed within themselves or others have fed. But at the same time, we need to understand that hating an individual based upon their race or their lifestyle, and that's a pretty dicey conversation right there. But let's say race at this point. You're telling God that God doesn't know what He's doing when He's making people different than you. But also, I think there's a lot of people that stoke up their own hate, and I think of Cain and Abel as one of the shining biblical examples of a person hating another person, and jealousy and hate and all that are in the same cup in the Bible. That you can't have that murderous hate for your brother and not have some envy and jealousy working, understanding that envy and jealousy are closely related, but that if I am if I criticize you, if I'm a introvert, you're an extrovert, and we go to a social event and I'm criticizing you because people are always talking to you, it's because I want that. You know, I want to be that person too. So I'm gonna criticize it in you because it makes me uncomfortable to be your friend and see you able to socialize, and I can't do it. So all of a sudden I get this twisted admiration for you, and I want what you want, but I resent the fact that you have it.
Right. Rather than just, if you quiet, just be quiet. If the person's more
Yeah,
extroverted, it's okay.
You get to meet folk.
Yeah.
You know, but people aren't satisfied with that.
No. And the problem, what we're seeing, what we always seen it always cycles back, is getting in these groups that confirm your hatred,
Absolutely.
disgust,
insecurity,
insecurity,
rejection, sensitivity, all of that.
Yeah, defeated. Like these guys, the Allen, Texas guy from the mall.
Yeah.
And 2 days in a row. Brownsville and Allen aren't that far away. They're a distance.
Did something else happen?
Well, yeah. So Saturday was the outlet shooting.
Right.
The next day in Brownsville, that's
that
where
guy with the car.
the truck into
Yeah.
and both of them are part of these hate groups.
Okay.
And here's the now we're taking on a whole nother thing, right?
Okay.
Because I believe both of them were Hispanic. I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I
Yeah.
think they were.
Yeah, they were.
But they're a part of these right-wing hate groups, which goes on to how some minorities, black and brown people, think they're a part of something until something happens to them and realize you're being radicalized into a group that really doesn't accept you.
What's weird about that?
Yeah.
It's. I'm going to get in trouble. It's like the trend among African American bishops to be validated by a Roman Catholic process. And the process does not even acknowledge you as a real church. Doesn't even accept the fact that your members are baptized because they don't acknowledge you as a church. How do you become radicalized about something that doesn't even think you're legitimate? What the irony, the genius of this whole radicalization thing is it turns you against yourself.
Yes.
So these Hispanic guys started hate themselves, but separate themselves from the fact that they're part of the group they hate.
Yes. And I think
because they're immigrants.
They're immigrants, yeah. And somewhere in Florida, I'm gonna research it more. I can either maybe Danny or Tom can help us out with this. Some laws or something they're putting in place that's affecting Spanish workers in Florida. So now they're bringing in more Americans to help do some of these work. They're trying to get rid of some of the migrants.
Really?
Yeah. And
so they're going to pay them more?
Either pay them more, to do that. Remember, like back when they were doing ICE was doing all those raids in California?
I bet you they're not.
Yeah. Well, they're not. They're going to try to keep them. Remember with the ICE raids and stuff?
Yeah.
And then California experienced people not wanting to work into the fields. They were doing they're taking our jobs. And then when they removed them from the jobs, the Americans didn't step up to work in the fields for $9, $10 an hour. So then prices went up. They're not taking your middle class. I mean, I'm just being realistic here. They're working in the field first and then working their way up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm saying all that to say that some in Florida voted for DeSantis. Now it's coming back to bite them in the butt. We see groups in church having issues, so they get together and have their little
insecurity parties.
And then they end up killing each other.
Absolutely. They always turn on each other.
Hate it has to turn.
For a minute, though, the Sadducees and the Pharisees were able to put aside their dislikes of each other because they dislike Jesus.
Yes.
But sooner or later, they turn on each other.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen in my years of being alive. I've seen, and it happens in the church. You know, you've got these people that come together. They've got a common grievance. And then you watch those same groups start to splinter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can't stay unified around a hate. You can't do it.
You can't. You're right. You can't. Because eventually your insecurities will turn on each other.
Absolutely.
And the one that's leading the group, they'll start turning on them because they want to.
The Bible says in Psalm 55, I believe, or maybe Psalm 109, the psalmist prays, divide their tongues. So they came unified, but divide their tongues.
Yep.
So but I think the negative passion, and I've talked about this in sermons over the years. When you have 5 people, and the most enthusiasm they have is around negative issues, around common insecurities and common dislikes, they begin to fragment after a while.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they're not liking an individual. Let's personalize it. Not not liking a decision I made and grounded around that. And you really don't care for each other either. Sooner or later, that gets old, disliking my decision, and then they start to attack each other.
You gotta find
something new.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotta find something new.
Well, that's true. Yeah, because Satan sought to divide humanity in the garden, and then they start dividing from each other.
Absolutely.
It's just ongoing process.
All the
of
time.
Division, of
All the time.
insecurity, hatred, dark, you know.
And so you produce a bunch of Lot's wives. They get frozen in that moment.
Right.
And unbelievably, the same group that they were walking with leaves them there.
Yeah.
Frozen looking back. It's amazing.
Yeah. And you have to know, I always tell people, you have to know you're crazy. In the sense of like personalized, because everybody has a crazy side to them.
Yeah.
At least acknowledge it. This part of me is flawed and wrong. Rather than living in denial of it, I struggle with unforgiveness, I struggle with X, Y, and Z, and let's start working on this.
I think the problem is you can find too many people that will give you the just be you.
Yeah.
I remember hearing a preacher preach years ago that God loves you just the way you are, and they stopped there.
Yeah.
He does love you the way you are. That's how he saves you. But Jesus didn't die for you to stay the same.
Yes.
So teaching that continual victimization of oneself, because that's what that really is.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'm messed up. I know I'm damaged. It's just the way I am.
Yeah.
The world's going to have to accept me. You're self-inflicting wounds.
Yes. Now help me out with this.
Okay.
All right. So I've talked to people, and I'm sure you have with this. They don't like something about themselves.
Hate it in somebody else.
Hate it in somebody else.
Yeah.
And right. And it's like, just like you said, they try to force other people to accept it in them when they have a hard time accepting it in themselves.
That's right.
So I don't want people around me to accept what's wrong with me. You know, even if I don't like the confrontation, I at least respect.
But we live in a society now where if you disagree with something that's an obvious negative, you're judging, you're not allowing them to live their truth. But here's the problem I have with that. When your truth begins to sabotage the significant relationships and situations in your life, when you are maniacally inconsistent, and people around you just wave their hands at you, I think it really shows you who loves you. People that really love you don't want you to stay the way you are.
They challenge you.
But we're in a society now where, you know, you can only love me if you agree with the fact that I rob banks. You're supposed to tell me something good about myself.
Yeah, that's true.
And
the crazy thing is, now I mean, you to me, that group validates what's wrong with you.
Yes.
But internally, you know it's still wrong.
Well, here's the problem.
It still doesn't fix it.
Well, here's the problem that I have. The group will validate it, and then when they're out of that person's presence, they criticize it.
They talk about it. That's true.
They talk about it.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, I've seen family members. You just kick each other's backs in. But around that family member, oh, you're so great. Oh, I understand why you're crazy. You know, if I, you know, it's not that bad. And then when they're out of that person's presence, annihilate them.
Right. Exactly. And I think, to me, you've done it with me sometimes. Like, I understand how you feel, but how you feel. How do you always say it? Let's consider it another one.
Maybe we can add some wisdom to that.
And to me, there's strength in saying, look, I get why you feel the way you feel, but how you feel is wrong. Let's think about other ways to work on.
Because I think, I don't know if you agree with me, I think sometimes we can get stuck on the island of how we feel, and the threat of having to swim out there and see something else it's insecure. You know, I'm really, even though it's bad, even though it's the wrong way I feel, I'm really content with the way I feel. This coat is very warm.
It is.
You know? I told the pastors last night, I said, you know, taking the ash coat on and putting on the garment of praise is a bigger deal than we think.
It is.
Because if I'm used to ashes, and I'm used to people responding to the fact that I look like something's wrong, I act like something's wrong, I throw a fit, and that makes everybody back up, so that solves the problem in that moment. If I get used to that ash coat, I won't want the garment of praise.
Right.
Because even though it's negative attention, I'm getting
Still
attention.
get attention. Yep. Do you want to be made whole, sir? There's no, when the water's troubled, there's no, that, to me, that screamed of,
Absolutely.
I'm comfortable in, even though I don't like being here, this is my comfort zone. And every time I try, people get in the way, so I might as well just sit here. Deliverance right in front of your face, and it's hard to accept it.
And the way Jesus asked the question,
Yeah.
because you would assume the guy did want to be made whole.
Yes.
So he asked him a very important question, even though it seems crazy. Do you want to keep laying here by this pool?
Yeah.
And the guy is, comes up not with no. He comes up, I don't have anybody help me.
Right.
Yeah, ain't what I asked
So I
you.
would ask you. But finding that comfort of all
Yeah.
those flawed people
Yeah,
in the same
yeah,
place.
yeah.
And again, we keep turning on each other because every time the water's troubled, somebody
Yeah.
gets it before.
Yeah,
It just,
yeah. The group can't even decide, let's set up a doctrine, a protocol, where we can get a couple people in the water every time it happens. Now, who's been here the longest?
Right.
All right, you've been here long. You've been here 30 years. You've been here 25 years. All right, you get close to the pool. We're going to make sure you guys get in next. But that would be too much concern.
Right? Because hate and envy and insecurity are very selfish, very competitive. That's,
Because he said, somebody step over me. It's like Tyronn Lue got stepped over by
Yeah.
Allen Iverson. Just boom, just stepped over him, and it's a disregard for others because of a singular focus on I got to get this myself.
Yes.
Because I'm not sure that the Bible indicates at all that only one person could get in the water. So you mean if two jumped in there, the water was going to stop bubbling? I don't think so.
I remember I got in a conversation with a pastor. I said, look, if a church has 1,000 people, this church has 200 people. Why is the church of the 200 bashing the church of 1,000
Right.
when you both are in a city with, let's take, say, 30,000 people? You're worried about the church with 1,000. There are 29,000 other people.
Other people.
You focused on the wrong thing. But again, it's easy for me to.
Well, I can justify my failure by criticizing your success.
Yeah. Rather than God gave you a whole field of 29 some odd thousand people that you can go talk to.
Yeah.
But again, it's easier to kill your brother than it is to change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I think, of course, this weekend is Mother's Day weekend, and last week we started talking about how this particular day has a lot of shadows.
Yeah.
Celebratory, bitter at the same time. Mothers not able to celebrate fully because of the loss of children or relationship. People that have lost their mothers, feeling undue sadness because of the day, because the day has shadows in it. And I think that we have to admit. I'm going to talk about this a little bit tomorrow. There's mothers that are not present. There's mothers that are present but emotionally unavailable, and then there's mothers that are very present. And I think all three of them are shown to us in the Bible. And because we don't have the chance to pick our mothers, we have to find out what God wants to do with us in each of those situations.
Right.
And a lot of mothers mothered their children based on their circumstances. And a lot of mothers mothered their children based on only being able to fulfill 2 of the 3 necessary qualifications for a mother. They were able to conceive, they were able to gestate, but they were not able to care.
Right.
And I think that those things have to be talked about. And then there's mothers who were very present, who not present and present and absent mothers say they're doing too much.
Right.
But I think parenting is a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think it's a lot of sacrifice. I think that I think about being the local oldest responsible male of my extended family. I think about that. I think about the fact that I've been not a bad sacrifice, a privilege and convenience that I've had to care for people for the last 15 years. And the sacrifices I've had to make, being present and, sacrificing a lot to be the primary caregivers for the last 15 years of 3 or 4 different family members. And I'm amazed at how people that don't do that, their opinions about people that do.
Right. Because they're too selfish to do.
Okay.
To me, it's like if your parent, grandparent, whoever, spend a whole lot of time to raise you, even when you're grown helping, they grown, they still need, It makes sense that when their time comes, you actually end up parenting somewhat your parent.
I agree with you.
It's just the way.
But I think some people think that's negotiable. I think that's a dump off.
Right.
Some people even delegate it, but there's a time in your life when it's non-negotiable for you.
Yeah.
And the last 15 years have been that for me.
Yeah.
I've had, and I've done it with passion and zeal. But if you have it in a place of negotiation with yourself, you'll have a hard time doing it.
You will, yeah. I think a part of that too, I could be wrong here, is the loss of communal life among people. Back in the day, not even just the 70s, but way before that, it was we're a family together, and it was common for grandma, mom, when she gets older, to either live with somebody or live close by.
Oh yeah,
because it was a communal, a village.
Take care of them.
Took care of everybody.
Yeah.
Now it's more, I got to go out and do me. I look at how grandparents are now compared to before. So many grandparents are still trying to be young and get their groove back and do their thing.
It's tragic. It's tragic.
Right. I'm not saying grandparents can't go out and live. I'm not saying that at all.
It's tragic.
But they completely like, I ain't doing all that.
Well, here's the thing though. They're. I have to be careful. You have to be careful of what legacy you're leaving them to live.
Yeah.
So if they don't think grandma ever gets serious or grandpa ever gets serious, so you're being the example for them. But I'm not sure people are concerned about that.
No, they're not. It's I'm going out and do me.
Yep. This whole do me thing is I think is destroying the companionship of family.
Yes, it is.
I think caring for other people, and I think that's in my own situation, that would I have liked to have some of that time back?
Sure.
I just with my mom, I spent like 2 full years every single day at her house until she passed away, night after night after night. Grandma, night after night after night, and then I had a little break, and then my uncle dies, and then my aunt, and to me, it's not an inconvenience.
Right.
It's actually a privilege to do that.
Absolutely.
And I've had people ask me, what about time for you? This is me.
This is time for you, yeah.
This, what do you mean? Well, you're not doing this. You don't understand.
Yep.
This is my mom. I don't care how you think about it.
Yep.
It's my grandma. I don't care what you think about it. It's my aunt. I don't care what you think.
Right.
Okay.
To me, what would you regret more?
Well,
right. Going to the movies or
the disapproval of some knucklehead or man, come on.
Come on, come on.
Come on, man.
But I don't think we think that long term.
Well, maybe we don't think long term because in my mind, and we're talking around this Mother's Day theme now. There's no waving back and forth on what decision. If something happens to Robin, you're not gonna.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're not gonna. I don't know if I feel like doing this. That's not gonna enter your mind.
Right.
My mom got sick. My grandma got sick. My aunt started getting elderly. There was no sitting down like, who's going to help me do this? And, do I feel like it? And I didn't go through all that.
No. Because as many seniors as we know that don't have the help from their kids, their grandkids, and they're left alone. To me, I worked in a nursing home for a period of time.
Did you?
Yeah, before I started working here when I was in college. And it was tragic to see the families that would never show up or barely show up compared to the ones that came almost every day to the nursing home to help do what they got to do.
I remember my stepdad was in the hospital. I would go 3 times a day. And he happened to be in hospital in May and June. And of course that was power of God. So I'm going first thing in the morning before we're coming in, because, I got the pass. I'm going right after we finish the session in the afternoon. Go home for a little while. And after, no matter what time we would leave here at night, whether it was 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm headed to the hospital before I'm going home. And one of the ICU nurses said, people don't do what you're doing. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're in here 3 times a day. He said, and that's the reason he's getting such good care. Yeah. I was like, are you kidding me? But I'm thinking, it's not negotiable for me. Right. My mom's not well. I don't want her running to the hospital. Yeah. Somebody's got to be there.
Somebody's got to do that.
So, I just went 3 times a day until he passed away. Yeah. But it wasn't like I was sitting around, here I go again. It never crossed my mind, Pastor Nick.
Yeah. Well, that takes a lot of love and care.
Well, I think, yeah.
And if a person doesn't have that type of love and care, then
I wonder, it's going to be hard to say. I wonder what kind of God love you have if your parents get on your nerves. Yeah. What kind of honor is that?
Yeah. Especially if they're good.
When is it our turn to give daily concern to them?
Right. Yeah.
And not this, God knows what's in my heart nonsense. Measurable manifestation of care on a daily basis.
Maybe we're looking at a lot of adults that are still children. That could be it.
Wow.
Because when you're a child, everything's about you. You're selfish.
And a lot of adults are still like that.
Adults are still just like that.
Wow.
A lot of kids don't care, can't do the care.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to mature our way out of only thinking about ourselves as kids.
Wow.
That could be the issue. We look a lot of grown children.
My dad was not around. My mom came to everything.
Yeah.
I'd be a stupid behind man. I almost said something. I'd be a stupid man that at 71 years old, I'm talking about my dad never came to my games. I'm telling myself to shut up if that happens.
Right.
Come on.
I know. It's a certain part you got to learn to
Come on.
grow heal.
It wasn't your fault then, but it certainly is your responsibility not to be bound by something that happened when you were 7 years old or didn't happen.
Yep. Yeah.
But you're still regaling in the fact that you're offended after 60 years? Come on.
Childish behavior, yeah.
Come on, that's children.
It's children.
Man, we better get on the phone here. We got Tom from Florida on line 1. We got Angela from Kentucky. And we got Danny. Let's go to Tom. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Bishop. How you doing, Pastor Nick?
Man, we got going. I forgot we had phones. Go ahead.
Hey, don't worry about it. I was going to answer Pastor Nick's thing about what's going on with the migrants here, but you guys said what he's talking about, family structure.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember as a kid, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, we saw them every other weekend, and our structure was so different. We didn't call and say, we coming. We came. Now you gotta. Hey, are you guys doing anything?
It wasn't. It wasn't. Can we come? It was what time we're getting there.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and it was every. I'm gonna say, I saw those people every other weekend, and not only that, if they were at one house, 5 other families were there, and 2 weeks later they'd all be at the other house, and that's gone. I just don't see it anymore. Even in my family, I don't see that anymore.
My grandparents lived around the corner from us in the project. Around the corner. So they were built-in babysitters. We were always there. It was, they were always at, it was different, man.
Yeah, it was.
It was different.
I think family structures changed a lot to where that's just not part of us anymore.
But you know what's sad. You know what's strange now, Pastor Nick, now we're talking about this. In my family, we still don't have to call to go to each other's house. We do it as a courtesy.
Yeah.
Are y'all home? Yeah. Is it all right if we stop by now? Yeah. I'm coming over.
I'm about to do that today.
Tom, that has lasted in our family.
Yeah. Go in, look at the refrigerator.
When I come to Jersey, I'm going where I'm going, and I ain't calling. Bishop, Pastor Nick was earlier talking about some of the immigration stuff. And what happened in Texas, those guys were supposedly part of the white group that believes that, blacks are going to take over.
But they weren't white.
And the point is,
Identify, yeah.
they're identifying with something that wants them gone.
Mm-hmm.
The replacement theory. And the point is, they're the people that are replacing them, and in the end, that's going to, that is the folks they're aimed at.
Well, you know what I think, Tom? I think that some ethnicities are okay with being a person of color, but they simply don't want to be identified as black.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And some of them are as brown as we are.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just leave me out of that category, And I've got Eastern friends that only accept that they're a person of color when they are discriminated against.
Yep.
And then they call me and say, how do you handle this? How do you handle that?
Mm-hmm. I think even like places like Haiti and a few other people,
Yeah.
the African, Afro-Cubans,
Mhm.
they're looked down upon,
Mhm.
live in the same country.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, anything that identifies as black or African,
Yeah, it's not good.
yeah.
And then Africans that I've known and I've talked to say that there's an air of superiority over American blacks.
Yeah.
So we're not black, we're African.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives us superiority. And part of what they say is, we've never been slaves, so we don't know what it's like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pastor Nick was saying something earlier about our governor doing a craziness down here with the on the 1st of July.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to, all the immigrants, the EV verification, that's where you have to verify
Mm-hmm.
employees by documentation. If you have more than 25 employees, you're going to get big fines if you don't document. Not only that, I saw this on the news this morning. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
They were going to work sites interviewing Spanish folks that said they were leaving Florida because they were scared to work here, and they were showing construction sites that were empty, and they were asking the governor indirectly, what are you going to do to supply workers for these sites, because they're disappearing because they're afraid.
Well, is it true that there also is some legislation in process in Florida that basically is going to discriminate immigrants from getting treatment if they go to the hospital, to emergency room?
It's not in, it's already done.
Has that done already?
What they have to do is, it didn't say that they're not going to treat them, but they have to be reported. And that goes with the same law that says, if I pick up an immigrant or take him home from work in my car,
Yeah.
I can be arrested and charged with a felony for transporting.
An undocumented person?
Yes, and that all's falling under that same category.
Well, let me ask you the same question I've been asking every week for the last 3 or 4 years. Doesn't anybody in Florida see anything wrong with this stuff? Enough to say something?
I saw this stuff on the, before you came on, I was looking at the news, and they were talking about how great the governor is. And I'm
For who?
Exactly. And I'm thinking, are blinders on, or what? He's selling it pretty. I mean, they criticize some of the small stuff, but it's so under the radar what he's doing. Seems to get better national attention out of here than local.
Okay.
And the other part I still can't understand are the Cubans and other folks down here who are immigrants who are behind this guy 100%.
Yeah, but they're not. The ones that I know don't seem to identify as a person of color. They identify as white.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
And basically, they don't say this, but we're not immigrants. We're Cuban. I mean, we
Cubans
they
not.
put themselves in a different category.
But sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Even when the boat things were going on with the Haitians and the Cubans, it was a different law. You know, they were sending the Haitians right back. Once the Cubans made land, they were safe and good to go.
Wow.
You know what they remind me of?
What?
I actually talked to one a few years ago. Just popped up in my head. Their thing is, I came over here legally. How come the rest of y'all can't do the same thing? But they say it with an air of superiority.
Absolutely.
Almost like the one that made it out of the hood goes back and like, what's wrong with y'all? Not
absolutely.
They almost lost the connection. I'm not saying we shouldn't encourage people to come out. You get what I'm saying. It's that arrogance of it.
It's those that want to forget. It's like me trying to forget I came out of the projects in Chester.
Right. Yeah.
And acting like that part of my life doesn't even exist.
Yes.
When I've embraced it.
Yeah.
I think it's part of what God has done. Tom, thank you, man.
Yeah, and before I hang up, sounds like you guys just described Clarence Thomas.
See you later, Tom.
Take care.
Bye.
See you, Tom.
We're going to Angela, 866-743-8267, 866-743-8267. Angela from Kentucky. Hello, Angela.
Good morning, Bishop. Good morning.
How you doing?
Good morning.
I watched my favorite horse race last week.
Did you?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
your favorite horse win?
No, I didn't have a favorite this year. I just like watching the race. I thought it was very competitive, though.
I'm from Kentucky, of course.
I know.
But I must admit, I have never been to the Derby.
Man, I want to go to the Derby so badly.
I like the hat.
Yes, it's a lot of fun, it looks like, too.
Yes, I had plans to go this year. But
Did you?
I told my girls, I lost my father in December, and so still working through those processes.
Yeah.
Of being on the earth with no parents.
I understand.
I never knew. I didn't. This is very, very new for me.
It's different, isn't it?
Very different.
Yeah.
Very different to navigate that.
Yes, it is.
You made a comment earlier about the last 15 years of your life taking care of loved ones. And I just came out of that. My father, for the last 3 years, of his 5 children, 4 alive, I was the one that kind of took the reins with him. I don't know if it's because I'm the one that's single, but the lot always kind of fell to me.
Okay.
So he, I was very involved. I begged my siblings to help me with his care and, what comes with aging. The different things that come with aging and what they need.
But Angela, you know it falls to the oldest responsible local adult. You know that, right?
But I'm next to the baby.
It doesn't matter. The oldest responsible, local adult is who is who this privilege falls to.
It surprised me that my siblings, 2 sisters in particular, took a hands-off approach to him until he passed.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And then where's the money?
Gotta shine.
Where's the money now?
Oh my God.
Where's the money?
Oh my God. When he passed, they literally treated me as if I was invisible.
Of course.
And I didn't know if I was grieving his loss or their behavior.
Both. Both.
I think you're right.
Funerals and weddings bring out the worst in people.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been the case for our family, and we've experienced a couple of losses. But it hasn't been to this degree.
Well, because there's a legacy that they think exists, and they're afraid they're not going to get a part of it. People want honor from a deceased person without having given them honor while they were alive.
That's hard to reckon.
Not for them. Not for them.
For me, I was so involved in his day-to-day activities, even moving him around the corner for me, because he refused to live in my house because he was born in 34. And when I moved him in, he just behaved like he was such a burden and such a problem until I had to move him into his own home, which came with whatever came with that. But in his absence, initially in his absence, I was relieved because I was overwhelmed at what was going on. That was around the time I was I published my book and lost my father on the same day.
Wow.
So it was a real happy, sad situation. So I was relieved initially because I didn't have this dual life I was taking care of. And then when the relief subsided, the grief washed in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the washing in of that grief and dealing with them. Now, I have an older brother who is the oldest sibling, who is a paranoid schizophrenic with drug issues. So I had to go to court during this time of taking care of my father for the last 3 years. I had to go to court to have his rights terminated so we could get him into a facility that would help him. And in both situations, neither sister stepped up to the plate. You know, I'm praying for you, and I thought, that's great. But the guilt of having the responsibility of locking away my brother, they couldn't find a facility where we lived, so they had to send him a couple states over.
I remember, Angela, I remember the night my grandmother died. Of course, the entire extended family that could get here was there. And it always amused me that they waited for me to get there to make the decision to take my grandmama off all that stuff. So all the other I'm like, what do you, everybody waiting for me to come? What do you want to do? What? But because I was the primary caregiver.
Wasn't that a respect?
Yeah, well, it was, but I was the primary caregiver. They knew it. They knew I'd been taking care of her for a long time. But I just, you know, you end up parenting your adult relatives.
Oh yeah.
You end up parenting your adult relatives. And I'm amazed at the number of people
specifically parenting your father who
Absolutely.
was born in that era.
Absolutely.
Because you know he knew he needed me, but I was still next to his youngest child. So he's trying to take care of me while I'm trying to take care of him.
That's how it works. That's how it works. That's how it works.
But thank God, you know, things are settling, things are calming. My children, I'm on the cusp of Mother's Day, so my children are, you know, being very intentional this year with me. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I said last week, Mother's Day comes with shadows.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear that message.
Yeah, I said it last week. Mother's Day comes with shadows.
But I'm excited about it. So
absolutely.
Just keep me lifted. Keep praying.
Absolutely.
I'm finally giving myself the space to grieve.
Well, you have to.
So it's not been by practice. My practice is, you know, to move on. And
we don't mourn like others do, and mourning is just an expression of our grief.
Right.
Well, we got to go.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
You too now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Danny, how you doing, man?
Good morning, Bishop, Pastor Nick, staff. How are you all doing?
Thanks for your patience today. We're having some serious conversations this morning.
No, I'm enjoying it as usual, always, and they don't call it right on point for no reason. You know, you're living up to the name.
Well, so, appreciate that.
I just want to say, just to join in with what you were saying, is that remembering back in the day, I was thinking about your message last week, and then it makes it easier for me to bear this week because of the fact that I do not have my mother, but I do gaining from the message that you preach. Be thankful for the time that I did have.
Absolutely.
Be thankful. So
absolutely.
When I reflect back on that, you know, I come up with joy. You know.
Yeah.
So,
choose joy, man. Choose joy.
Yeah. And then also to add what you were saying is that growing up, we didn't have, like you were saying, babysitters or anything like that. It was always the neighbor that would lend a hand to help out whatever you need.
Yeah.
We live, 6 blocks away from our elementary school. But that one neighborhood parent would walk all the way to 6 blocks up to bring all the kids back.
I understand.
And you didn't have to worry about it. If anybody did anything wrong, they would protect them.
There's not a lot of that anymore.
No. You don't have. There's no such thing as that now.
Well, like Pastor Nick said, the community is so separated now that people don't know each other well enough to trust for those things to happen. So we're so disconnected.
Interesting thing that happened on my block is that growing up, we always knew who the people around the corner, down the block, blocks away. You knew who they were. I lived in a neighborhood where people didn't even speak to their next door neighbor.
I see that. Yeah.
Now the thing that happened is that I'm from the old school. I believe in keeping something in my pocket, in my hand. When the hurricane came, all electrical was knocked out.
Right.
So you did not have access to an ATM. But I'm always going to prepare for my hurricane.
Got to have a couple dollars in your pocket, right?
Yes.
I know that's right.
My next door neighbor, who never spoke to me, asked me
Always.
if I could be of assistance. And then not only that, when my house had electrical, and everyone was wondering, how do you have electrical? Now, I don't have electrical. I just have a generator.
Yeah.
And I connected to my house and what have you. So the way the neighborhood came together, we would always barbecue at someone's front lawn. And that broke the ice on that.
Okay.
And then the other topic that I wanted to talk to you about is that we in Florida, you have old residents, you have your newer residents that are here, and people that are coming in. If you live in a certain area, your outlook as to how things are is different from people who have been here and know how it actually is and the things that are happening.
Okay.
And did you see the response to the town hall meeting?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I think that woman ought to sue him again.
But yes, exactly.
I think.
And
I mean, he just lost it. I'd sue him again if I was her. It's ridiculous.
I know.
He doesn't have sense enough just to be quiet now.
Yeah, he doesn't.
But it's a question that you ask all the time. The residents of Florida, do y'all realize what's going on? What's happening?
They were cheering that guy, man.
They had a pro-Trump crowd there. Like,
yeah, but I mean, how do you go along with that nonsense?
They
don't even know when to be quiet.
I know.
Doesn't the Bible say study to be quiet?
Yes.
Okay.
They don't.
They don't even know to be quiet, Danny.
They don't.
No.
Speak
like you said, as long as they have as long as they can sit around the table.
That's all that's good for him. I was there with him, that's all. No matter what he says, I'm going to support it. It's crazy. Speaking of neighborhood thing, I remember one time coming back from walking the dogs, and neighbor who hadn't ever spoke to me, his 3-year-old was outside. So what had happened was the father had gone to take the other child to school. Didn't want to wake the kid up. Kid woke up while he was gone. Kid goes around the house, nobody's there. He comes outside. It's wintertime. And the kid standing outside in an undershirt and a diaper and no shoes. So I walk up, I come back with the dog, and I'm looking, and the dog's like looking. So I said, stay here. I go over, and I'm like, what are you doing? And of course he's 2, he can't talk, maybe 3. And the front door's open because he managed to open the front door. So here I am. I said, now what do I do? I'm not going in the house.
Nope.
So I take my coat off. I wrap him up in the coat, and we're sitting on the step. And I think I was singing to him or either talking to him. And the father pulls up, and I said, yo, man, your kid was outside. I said, I didn't want to go in the house. I said, so we sat here waiting for you. And it was the first time he'd ever spoken to him. It was, and it just showed me how detached we are. Yeah. Because I didn't even know the little boy's name.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't know his name. Yeah. But he had sense enough, and the Lord made it so he was comfortable. I got that baby. Yeah, that baby, the anointing I got. Right. So he was comfortable. And then I called the dog over, and he's petting the dog, and we're sitting there, and we were out there another 15 minutes. Okay. And he couldn't get back in the house.
Jeez. That's crazy. But we're so untrusting.
Yeah.
and cynical.
But you gotta almost be now.
Yeah, I mean, for a certain degree, I get why.
Yeah.
But it's just, somebody said it years ago. So for us black people specifically, segregation was one of the best things that happened to us. But also one of the worst things happened. It completely annihilated our community focus. People start moving out and getting along.
Yeah,
and
we got detached from one another.
Yeah, and forgot to rise up together.
We got the connection, man. It's one of the greatest diabolical, genius things that was ever done is give black people the impression, A, you tear up your own neighborhoods, which they do, and you need to flee your neighborhood. But we thought moving meant being disconnected.
Yep.
And it's not the same thing.
It's not the same.
Not the same thing.
Bishop, I just want to say one other thing to add to what Reverend Nick was saying, is that it's amazing thought when you think about it. Bishop, you know that during our era, you had a large family membership, or a family that with a lot of kids and things like that. And sometimes the head of the house was absent, or something happened where you only had one person that had to keep the family. And usually that was a mother or something, or a grandmother, and what have you. But it's amazing how one grandmother or one mother could raise 9 kids by herself.
Yeah.
But this day and age, you have 9 kids that can't take care of one mother.
And I think another thing that I talk about this a lot. Grandparents don't volunteer to raise small children. They don't volunteer. It's thrust upon them. They accept it and welcome it, but they don't volunteer to raise small children.
Yes.
But they take on the responsibility. And people want to believe that grandparents are just holding up their hands and saying, "Over here, put them over here." No, they're not. They're not.
My grandma had to raise my cousin.
Yeah, but and wasn't like she volunteered for it.
No.
And then, but people would rather believe you took them rather than what really happened. But grandparents do not volunteer for this stuff.
Yeah, man. It's thrown in the lap.
Oh yeah, and you're not throwing them back.
Yeah, you can't.
No, you can't do that.
Well, thank you all. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you, Pastor Nick, Bishop.
Have a good Mother's Day tomorrow, man.
All right.
Tell my sister I said hey.
Okay, we will tell her. In fact, she's listening, and thank you very much.
And tell her I know she's highly favored. Talk to you soon.
See you, Danny.
All right, Bishop.
Bye-bye. Well, we're coming up on the end of the program. We have about 3 minutes. Tomorrow morning, we want you to join us for our 8 a.m. virtual service. And you don't want to miss the 11 a.m. live. It has been just absolutely monumental, just so God-focused, and the move of God is so apparent. We want you to be a part of that great time with us. We're still wearing masks. You don't have to register or anything like that. We lifted that back in January, but we're still wearing masks. We're still trying to be as safe as possible. I was at the hospital yesterday. Well, you took me to the hospital yesterday, and everybody in there was masked up. We're in New Jersey. Everybody, receptionists, maintenance workers, everybody was masked up in there. So you do what you think. Now, what was amazing was most of the patrons were not masked, but myself, one other lady, and all of the staff were masked the entire time. It's just amazing how the governor is not going to come visit you in the hospital. You got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, you have to. Yep. We were somewhere because my pediatric, we take our kids, they are mask optional. The doctor was like, "Oh, you can take yours off." I was like, no, we kept ours on.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's cool.
Y'all do what y'all want to do. But
and it's weird. My dentist is lax in the lobby, but not in the treatment rooms. Now all the doors are open.
Okay, I was about to say can't travel.
All the doors are open. I'm like, okay, you guys are operating under a little fantasy here. Like COVID only stays right out here in the lobby. Like, wow. Anyway, you don't want to miss our 11 a.m. service tomorrow. We had a phenomenal time of communion last week at 6 o'clock. If you did not see it, you want to go YouTube or Facebook and take a look at that. You'd really enjoy it. Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock is our midweek impact. That midweek encounter, you don't want to miss that. That's live here in our sanctuary. If you're interested in receiving Bethany news updates, all you have to do is text BBC News to 28950. That's BBC News to 289-28950. BBC News to 28950. That's text. If you want to get devotional messages, pieces of sermons, that type of thing, you want to text BBC Elevate to 28950. So all of them are 28950. It's just BBC News or BBC Elevate. And you can get the news, you can get excerpts, you can get devotionals, all that good stuff. Now, if you want us to pray with you, all you have to do is go to Bethany, send it to email social@gotobethany.com. Email us at social@gotobethany.com. We'd love to pray for you, pray with you. We believe in God for you. Subscribe to our David G. Evans 1, BBC FNJ on YouTube. We'd love you to watch. Subscribe to our DGEMS, DGEMS, and On Point podcast platforms. Anything else, Nick?
No.
Well, for Pastor Nicholas Smith, I'm Bishop David G. Evans. Remember now, faith acts like a thing is so, even when it's not so, that it might be so. God bless you, and we'll see you next time on Point. What's his name is coming from Anthony's church. He has something for